Let's talk about timing. We live in a world that's all about success. We want success now, relationships now, answers now. Waiting feels like wasting. But what if God's delays aren't denials? God is working the most in your life when in the waiting. Trusting God's timing is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most powerful ways to grow in faith. God's timing is perfect. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." God's timing isn't just good, it's perfect. He's never late, never early, but always right on time. The problem is, his timeline often doesn't match ours. Think about this. Have you ever prayed for something and felt like God was taking too long? Maybe you even started wondering if he even heard you. But later you realize that his timing wasn't off. It was exactly what you needed. When we don't trust God's timing, we often take matters into our own hands. Think about Abraham and Sarah in Genesis 16. God promised them a child, but when the promise didn't happen quickly, they decided to help God by having Abraham have a kid with one of the servants. Ishmael's birth led to conflict and consequences that lasted for generations. When we try to rush God's plans, we create problems instead of solutions. The waiting isn't wasted, it's where God grows you. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." In the waiting, God is shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the blessings he's about to give. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream that he would one day lead, but it took years of being betrayed, enslaved, and imprisoned before the dream could come true. In the waiting, God was building Joseph into the leader he needed to be. Trusting God's timing doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means actively trusting him while you wait. And here are three ways to trust his timing. Number one, pray without ceasings. Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Keep bringing your desires to God, but trust that he knows when the time is right. Number two, focus on obedience. Instead of worrying about when, focus on what God has asked you to do now. Are you being faithful in the small things? Luke chapter 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can be also trusted with much." Number three, remember his faithfulness. Look back at what God has already done in your life. He's come through for you before, and he will again. And one of the hardest parts about waiting is when God feels silent. In John 11, Mary and Martha send word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus is sick. They expect Jesus to come immediately, but he waits. By the time Jesus arrives, Lazarus is dead. Mary and Martha are devastated, but Jesus tells them, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" In John 11:40, Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, showing that even when it feels like he's late, he's always working for his glory and our good. Sometimes we're waiting because the thing we're asking for isn't ready. Other times we're waiting because we're not ready. Proverbs chapter 3, 5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." When you trust God's timing, you're not just waiting for what you want, you're stepping into what he's prepared for you. And it's really hard. And as much as I would say just wait on the Lord, I also understand how difficult that is. So be praying for the Lord to give you patience to wait on him. As